Hello, and welcome to the broadcast. In this episode, we're going to answer the following question. When should you get a Serbian tutor? The answer? Inside. Hi guys, Cam here with SLP, Serbian Language Podcast, and today in this episode we're going to be talking about when should you get a Serbian tutor? The answer, if I had to go into general terms, would be this. It depends. Some people like to jump right in and start taking classes right away, and other people, they want to kind of take their time, get a little bit proficient and comfortable before they jump right into taking private classes. So let's go into some tips and tricks on how you can know when you're ready to start taking Serbian language private classes. I want to start by saying that it's a wonderful thing that Serbian Language Podcast has assembled all the things that you need, and there's a new series that's actually part of the website, and it's called the Phonetics and Accent series. And in this particular series, it actually teaches you all you need to know about how to pronounce the words properly, how to get your mouth prepared to start speaking Serbian, as well as your mind. So that way, when you get onto the website, you get on SerbianLanguagePodcast.com, you can, even in the absence of a private tutor, begin to teach yourself how to speak Serbian language like a professional. That said, let's go into the different learning styles and why having a private tutor in Serbian might be the best move for you, or why not having a private tutor in the very beginning might be a better solution for you. So let's go right into that. And if you're enjoying this channel and enjoying the content, please like, subscribe, and let us know what you think in the comments. To begin with, learning a language, learning Serbian in particular, it can be very overwhelming to just jump right into having private classes on day one. That can be a very overwhelming thing for some people. It renders up all kinds of feelings of insecurity and anxiety, and it makes the learning process less fun. That's the case for some. And then for other people, they are fully prepared to just jump in and get right to work on learning Serbian language. And this brings me to my first point about how you know when you're ready. There are two different types of language learners. There are interpersonal learners, and then there are what I call systematic learners. So I'm going to break down the difference between the two. Interpersonal learners, they find meaning and motivation in connection. And what I mean by this is that they find the joy of learning the language, the motivation to do so, and comprehending what it means to internalize a language through their interactions with people. Systematic learners differ because what they do is they view the language learning process as an opportunity to get proficient in the systems, and that's where their motivation and their meaning making is going to come from. It's going to come from a deep dive into the systems and structures of the language, and that's how they make their connection. So the connection points are different. They're about people when it comes to interpersonal learners, and they're about systems when it comes to systematic learners. It's important to say here too, there's no wrong way. You're not a bad person if you want to go right into the systems. Much in the same way, you're not a bad person if you want to connect via people. So this is a great indicator, and it's important for you to just stop and pause and ask yourself this question. Where do you find your meaning and where do you find your motivation? Do you find it in how you connect to people or in how you connect to the systems? And I would also add that in an ideal world, you're doing a bit of both. It's important to do both because that's what a language is all about. A language is about connecting with people, but it is also about connecting with systems and structures as well. So fusing both of those together is the ultimate way to be a learner. So here's my recommendation and how you can know if you're ready to start taking classes with a private Serbian tutor. If you are an interpersonal learner, I would recommend the following. You want to start taking Serbian language classes with a private tutor right away. And I'm happy to say Serbian Language Podcast has the tutors for you already, in addition to the amazing program that it offers that will take you from beginner to advanced in the Serbian language. If you're interpersonal, you want to start taking classes, I would recommend just once a week. That's how I would start. So you're going to get on Serbian Language Podcast, you're going to be learning beginner dialogues, how to become literate in the language. You're going to study the grammar tools, the lesson videos, and in conjunction with that, you're going to be having private classes where you can begin to utilize and connect with a native Serbian speaker about the things that you're learning, and that's going to give you a lot of joy, meaning making, and motivation. If you're a systematic learner, I would say you want to hold off on taking private classes in the beginning, and you want to just go deep into the system of the language. You want to hop on Serbian Language Podcast. You want to study the lesson videos, which explain the grammar of Serbian language from A to Z. They're going to teach you how to conjugate verbs, how to speak and get proficiency across the tenses, and you're going to want to really get proficient in those systems before you jump into taking private classes. And this is because your meaning making, your motivation is going to come from comfort and relative proficiency in the systems prior to going to the interpersonal route and connecting with people and native Serbian speakers. This would be the best way to do it. So if you're a systematic learner, you might want to wait a month, possibly even 2 months, to kind of get a little bit familiar with the structures and systems of Serbian language before you want to go into private language classes. Again, if you can't afford private language classes right now, don't beat yourself up and go, oh man, I can't do it right now. It's okay, it's all good. Because again, Serbian Language Podcast program has everything that you need, even if you can't access a private tutor in the very beginning. Another key, when you start taking classes, it's really important to know what your goals are. And it's also important to understand what your strengths are and what your weaknesses are. This is critical. You can waste a lot of time if you're taking private classes and you're just kind of winging it. I see people do it all the time. I've done it myself. At some point as language learners, perhaps we're all guilty of it. But you want to really suspend that, and you want to go deep into getting really technical about what you want to work on. You want to understand that, okay, I'm having a hard time with pronunciation. I'm having a hard time understanding declensions or the present tense. How do I make my first sentence? How do I do this? So understand your weaknesses and your strengths. Now, here's the secret to that. Once you've conducted that analysis and you can be introspective and acknowledge what you're struggling at and what you're excelling at, then in your private classes, you want to work with your tutor and you want to work on the hard parts. The things that are difficult, 70% of the class. The things that are a little bit easier for you, 30% of the class. You don't want to just always practice things that you're good at. You're not going to grow that way. Remember, tension is what creates growth. Growth only comes from tension. So if you're a little bit uncomfortable in the process, it's proof that you're learning. So what might that look like? It could look like this. The first 10 minutes of class would be working on the easy stuff, just kind of easing your way into the language, building your confidence. That's the first 10 minutes of class. The next 40 minutes of class, that's the hard stuff. The things that are a little bit challenging for you. How to conjugate verbs, the declensions, the past tense, what is an active participle, all these things, which again are explained on the Serbian Language Podcast program, and your tutors are fluent in that resource. So as you're talking about, I'm on lesson video 37, your tutor at Serbian Language Podcast is going to go, I'm right there with you. I see where you're at, and I also see what you should be able to do if you're already at video 37. A lot of times what happens is when people take classes, they're trying to work on things they haven't really introduced themselves to enough to even make use of the instruction that they're receiving. So be careful about that. The last 10 minutes of class would be, again, the easy stuff again. Kind of easing out of the class, building your confidence once again. You just had a tough 40 minutes. The last 10 minutes of the closing of class should be dedicated to building that motivation up again and getting you excited about continuing on with your language learning journey. And that's how you get to a 60-minute world-class class in Serbian. Woohoo! And again, to highlight, classes should be purposeful. It shouldn't be random. It should be technical. It should be structured. It should be layered. And most importantly, it should be sequential. When you learn your alphabet, how do you learn your alphabet? A to Z. No one says, let's learn the English alphabet. B, W, M, R, S, X, Z. They'd be confusing as hell, right? People do that with language and wonder why they're not experiencing growth. Learn things sequentially and be happy to know that that is provided for you at Serbian Language Podcast. So go to the website, check it out, and join the community. If you enjoyed this episode, please give us a big thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and let us know what you think in the comments. And as always, it's a pleasure to be here with you, and thank you so much for tuning into this broadcast. See you in the next one.